hot, smoldering topics on a weekly basis. Your participation is important.
Good morning and welcome to yet another edition of The Burning Issue here on the Happy World of 5 FM radio on 89.9 in Lusaka and the surrounding areas. Remember, we are also live on our partner radio station, this particular episode of platforms. Don't forget, also live on our Facebook page and that YouTube channel 5FM Zambia. And I'm your host, Zachariah Banda. Now, today, we are going to have quite a wide discussion ranging from administration into corruption and many other issues. Later on, I will give you an opportunity to call in and interact with our guest. And let me take this opportunity to introduce our guest. And our guest today is Honourable Mutotwe Kafwaya, who is a Member of Parliament for Lunte Constituency. He is also currently serving a suspension from Parliament. And, well, we will find out what really transpired. But for now, let me say good morning to you, Honourable, and welcome to The Burning Issue.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Zaki, and good morning to our listeners. Yes, I am hoping we can have a good conversation.
Indeed. Now, before we came on radio, I did address you as a disgruntled member of Parliament.
Yes, I denied that.
So, for the sake of our listeners, I'll tell them that yes, I greeted him that way when he walked in. But look, I'll still share with our listeners that I mentioned that you are disgruntled. But then, are you disgruntled member of Parliament? I mean, this is the third time you are being suspended. First, I think it was 90 days with the other members of Parliament. Then you got a 30, and now you have 7 sitting days.
Okay, I refuse to be disgruntled on the basis of suspensions from the National Assembly of Zambia.
Right.
But in a way, I could accept to be disgruntled based on the crippling load shedding. I may be disgruntled as a result of the high cost of living. I may be disgruntled because I am unable to regularly visit the people of Lunte because it's so expensive to do so. I'm barely managing to do that. So on those accounts, I could accept to be disgruntled. But on the suspensions from Parliament, no, I am not. I think that you actually reduced the number of times I've been suspended. This is the fourth.
It's the fourth. Okay.
The first time I think we were removed from Parliament for 90 days is when the Speaker interpreted the laws when she said, no, your seats have been nullified. Therefore, you can't sit in this chamber until your nullifications are set aside by the higher court. But after the Constitutional Court looked at that decision, we were brought back to the Assembly after 90 days. And then I was suspended for defending the Constitution together with the rest of my colleagues who protested the use of a wrong constitutional provision to support Head 1 of expenditure, and Head 1 is State House. We were suspended for 30 days. And again, I was suspended for 7 days for defending myself on the floor of the House. And I see a lot of members defending themselves, and they are not defended. They are not suspended. And I am currently serving a suspension for rising on a point of order. You understand? And the point of order, which was rude. Okay, the Speaker ruled that point of order, and she ruled me out of order. Okay, and then she asked me to withdraw and apologize. And as I stood, I was wondering, if I withdraw this point of order, where is the ruling of the Speaker going to sit? because she had ruled me out of order. You understand? So I asked her, as I withdraw, should I also withdraw your ruling, madam? And I also tried to clarify, who am I apologizing to? Because the point of order I rose on was on my honorable colleague, Honourable Anakoka. You understand? So I needed to be clear as to whether I was going to apologize to Anakoka, I was going to apologize to Madam Speaker, or I was going to apologize to the House. The Madam did not provide any guidance. Instead, she just said, stand up, apologize, and withdraw. So I thought, let me start by apologizing to Honourable Anakoka, and then move on to apologize to the House, and then move on to apologize to her, because I then didn't know who I was going to apologize to. But my friend, as it were, she rose in her seat, named me, and suspended me for 1 day. Okay, and said, say suspension of 1 day is sufficient for your, for your misconduct. So my misconduct was to rise on a point of order, and members rise on a point of order every meeting there. Okay, but I have been sent home, and you know what is going to be very interesting about my suspension is that she suspended me for 1 day, and I left the House. Then, as she came back from suspension of business for some minutes, she came and further suspended me for 7 days, 7 sitting days. You understand? So that means I am even unsure what suspension I'm serving.
Isn't that communicated via writing? Is it communicated in writing?
No, the ruling suffices. But because I've been banished from the precincts of the National Assembly and the Parliament Motel, I am not even able to go and get the verbatim. Okay, I can't get the verbatim to to be able to peruse. But yeah, that will not make me disgruntled, as I said. We just look forward to better days.
Let's get into the nitty-gritties of what we will be discussing today. I would like to get your thought. I know that the UPND administration is faced with a lot of challenges, and how to get out of these challenges, really, it requires quite a lot of leadership in it. Let's get into some of these issues. First of all, look, the administration is faced with drought, which has obviously resulted into hunger and shortage of maize and mealie meal. This administration, not only on agriculture, but drought has also affected electricity generation, resulting into load management or load shedding that this country is experiencing. All these challenges, and on top of that, we'll come and talk about corruption. But on top of that, there are all these corruption allegations against ministers and other government officials. Really, leadership is being questioned here. Your thoughts on this?
Zaki, thank you very much. I think that's a very important and also very loaded question, and we need to spend time to dissect that and be able to communicate effectively, hopefully, to the people. I think the first thing I would like to say is to remind the president that he promised the Zambian people that the caliber of his appointments was going to be a good caliber. It was going to be a spectacle. We were going to watch the kind of people he was going to appoint. Okay. It is important to remind the president that he actually went to Europe and told the Europeans that he had now placed Zambia to what would be referred to as Champions League in that side of the world. So Champions League is the best of the clubs in Europe. Okay, the best of the clubs. I think we here in Zambia, we watch a lot the English Premier League, and we know that only 4 top clubs go to play in the Champions League. 4 top clubs from England go to play in the Champions League. So that is a Premier League for the European competition. That is what the president was saying. This is where he had put Zambia. But you see, the first time he began to appoint people in State House there, he appointed people who had faked CVs. Presidential aide with a fake CV. A presidential aide cheated that he was a board member at Bank of Zambia. We raised that issue. That presidential aide is still at work today. You understand? Still at work today. Before, it was long. Ministry of Finance contracted illegal audits. We raised the issue, read the law in the face of government. Okay? Government went ahead and conducted those illegal audits. Up to today, Auditor General has never referred to those audits. Okay? We told them, where will you end up with these audits, these illegal audits that you have contracted? Auditor General has never referred to those audits. So it was normal to employ somebody who has faked a CV. It was normal to contract illegal audits. Now it is normal to hide medicine. You buy containers and containers of medicine. Instead of distributing that medicine to the hospitals which require those medicines for people to be able to survive on, you go and hide the medicine because of the caliber of the people that the president has appointed. So the promise of the caliber is not showing any good signs. You see, when you go today, and these are emotive issues to me as a person, and to me as a professional, and also as a servant of the people of Lunte, and by extension, the people of Zambia. When you go to cabinet office now and tell them, give me the list of people in holding position, you will find close to 600 people who are seated there doing nothing. And they have even been told, go home. There's no space for you to sit here. Go and sit home. Every day, every working day, they wake up in their homes and they stay at their homes, but month end comes, they get paid. Why? The holding position is designed to transition people. If you are moving a person from a certain ministry and you don't know where to take them in the short term, you put them in the holding position as you look for where to place them. Now, you tell me, where are you going to place 600 people? Some of them have been there for 3 years. How can you transition a person for 3 years? We have made recommendations. I have personally made recommendations. Fire these people, you don't want them. Fire them. What is so difficult about firing people you don't want? Fire them. Okay? Fire them. Or fire those who are hiding containers. Fire those who are contracting illegal audits. Fire those who are failing to act on on Auditor General's recommendations when it comes to this administration and maladministration. Fire them and then bring back those people who you have put at holding position, because those were able to work. I have made those recommendations, but the system is unable to listen. Okay? We have been talking about recruitment of teachers and health workers. Zaki, can you believe that somebody who does not have a grade 12 certificate could be recruited as a teacher? You have failed at grade 12. You are a failure. You failed grade 12. You failed to make it at grade 12. How do you get a certificate for a teaching certificate? How do you go to the teaching council and be able to get that teaching council certificate, but you don't have a grade 12? These are the teachers who have been employed, who are in employment now, okay, to go and offer teaching services in a free education environment. So when you boast about the free education, first of all, you are talking about children who go to school without eating because it is so expensive to have 3 square meals. Secondly, other than being hungry, those people are being taught by teachers who didn't pass at grade 12, who just bought their teaching certificates. Now, if you just bought your teaching certificate, chances are you just bought that diploma. Chances are you just bought that certificate, that degree. So what quality do we expect to come out of the teaching services of our country? It's a huge problem, huge problem. Do you remember what happened at the Anti-Corruption Commission? Do you recall? I may remind you, Zaki, and I'm talking about administration, okay?
Yeah.
I'll remind you. Auditor General audited that Anti-Corruption Commission. Okay, after the Auditor General audited, as per the audit process, he submitted the management letter for anti-corruption to respond to the issues which were in the paper. What did we see? We saw that that audit report was discredited in public. Such words as authenticity were used. You understand? Now, after the audit report was discredited, they now went to harass Auditor General. The officers at Auditor General were harassed. Laptops were confiscated. Why? They wanted to find out who had leaked the management letter. The management letter for the audit they had claimed was not authentic. Okay? So you have this problem. And up to today, the current Auditor General sitting there has not released that audit report. It has not come in any of the audit reports. So now, those people who are seeing corruption, some of the corruption which was reported by Auditor General are tired. That's why from inside now, somebody says, okay? Somebody at board level telling off the institution where they are saving and saying, it's too much, you are too corrupt. You are supposed to be fighting corruption, but you are the ones who are corrupt. What type of country is this? Because now what will be happening is, report anti-corruption. I go to anti-corruption, Zach is corrupt, here are the transactions. Those people will come to you and say, na bakuchita report iwe, walibe ndalama, so tie tuankanefie ndalamesh. You understand? Instead of anti-corruption investigating your issue, they will come and say, no, that's what they will be doing. That's what they will be doing to all this. This guy extends the pain to government chambers, government lawyers. He said, even these government lawyers, they are corrupt. There's too much corruption. You understand? So for me, I have a big problem with an administration which can't take small steps. A person who falsifies a CV is not credible, even if you like him. Even if you like him, he looks so good or he sounds so good, he's not credible. He has to be fired. Okay? A person contracts illegal audits. It doesn't matter how much you like that person. You put people who can do things procedurally. You understand? So for me, I am sorry, my good friend. I am not able to see any improvement. The result, of course, is what we are now seeing, where people are just saying, fin to fimbi. You know, if you consider the export of maize, for example, how many things have the government players said about the sale of maize? But yet, no, we have no storage. Okay, we have no storage. We are not able to store that maize. Okay, but no, we never even had the maize. tatwashikwetepwe shwenyanje. But mwala bati, minister wenu, Minister of Information at the time, ali milangile amataba, which were not even at FRA depots here in Lusaka, but somewhere in the rural areas. She showed you. Others will come and say, we sold to pay debt. Now, how do you sell maize which you never had? How can you sell because you have no storage? And again, you are saying, no, we sold because we wanted to pay debt, which was left by the PF. But President Yaveni Okusalan that no shelf life of maize was the reason for selling maize. Yeah? So you have all these problems, and some of them are so worrying that a PS or PSs can even go to negotiate with JJ at no ubepe fiobu fiat takwadi abduction. Ubepe fiobu fiat takwadi abduction pakwe bati uyumlandu tuufumiepo. Tuebe ba boss umlandu upwe. How do you tell a person like that? Umuntu, who is in pain, who you are supposed to be sympathetic, and you are an appointee of the president, you go to that person, but no, I was just playing to the gallery. How? How does a PS do that? And that PS cannot be moved, cannot be fired. The system is happy with that PS. Then you should be telling me about the administration. You understand? I should be happy about the administration. Or the people out there should be happy about the administration. Listen, it's very easy for people to love this administration of UPND if they do things to the expectations of the people. Because remember, the UPND government were voted into office because they were claiming that they would do the things that the people wanted. They would reduce the cost of living. Okay, they would improve, administration of the public service. They would stamp out corruption. They would do all these things. But my president even gets aware that you can't root out corruption in 2 years because some people live on corruption. Those who live on corruption should be sorted out. They should be dealt with so that you root out corruption. Corruption must be rooted out. So there's no hope now. And the president hasn't now given a new time frame, okay, in which he's going to root out corruption. He's just saying, no, 2 years and 11 months, you can't root out corruption. So what is the period? Because you only have 5 years. You only have 5 years.
Now, the former SSC, that is the Anti-Corruption Commission Board Chair, Musa Mwanya, was in the media, was on a platform yesterday, and what you've just raised is one of the issues he said when he served under Michael Sata. He remembers that in 3 years, Michael Sata fired certain ministers, fired a permanent secretary, and he argues that obviously his argument is against the president, who says it's very difficult in 2 years to root out corruption because other people on it. But he, on the other side, on the other hand, he was saying, but in 3 years, just like it is now, this president is serving for 3 years. In 3 years under Sata administration, he still fired ministers and permanent secretaries, and a number of them actually. I mean, would you say that there's so much excuse with this government in as far as speeding up the fight against corruption is concerned?
Well, thank you, Zaki. Zaki ministers and PSs are appointees of the president, and they don't require ratification from the National Assembly. So the process is very simple. You just appoint, swear them in. When you fire, there is no swearing in. You don't even revoke the swearing. You just fire them and they go. For the PSs, they don't even swear. They have no swearing ceremony. So I think that the president, if he knows of any of his ministers who are corrupt, he should fire them. Okay, and we are now told that there are ministers who are appearing before the Anti-Corruption Commission. Okay, we have got ministers right now who are appearing before the Anti-Corruption Commission. The only problem is the Anti-Corruption Commission also has got issues. Okay, but those are appearing. Okay, so what I would want to see is, number one, name those corrupt ministers. Okay, so that the people can know that these ministers are corrupt.
That's being
that is transparency.
That's being prejudice, because you can't say because a minister is being investigated then they are corrupt. And I think the reason is you are investigating to establish whether they are corrupt or not. So naming them that they have been called for questioning is fine, but you can't say once you are called for questioning then you are corrupt.
Well, maybe let me tell you why I'm telling you that these ministers are corrupt. Okay, particularly those who are appearing before. Do you know that in Zambia there's no private sector? Right now, there's no private sector, Zach. If you think we have a private sector, you are joking. Well, ask anyone, go to my ATM, so there's no money in ATM machines. Okay, to withdraw 1,000 kwacha today, you have to try maybe 5 ATM machines. Okay, why do you think banks don't have money to put in ATM machines? It's because there's no private sector. Private sector is dead completely. So, in a dead private sector, how is it that you are able to externalize 13.5 billion kwacha, according to FIC? This money is coming from government. This money is coming from nowhere other than government. You can't get this money from the private sector, which is dead. Okay? So if this is the case, you are getting money from the public sector to externalize, then there are players who are corrupt in the public sector. And it must worry you that some ministers are appearing before the Anti-Corruption Commission. So for me, I would rather those ones are named and then they are suspended. And this was a core, even when the current president was in opposition. These are the calls he used to make about individual ministers within the PF who were suspected of this allegation and that. This was the core. So it can't be different now. It cannot be different now just because ACC is under the presidency. You understand? Let the president do as he expected his predecessor Edgar Lungu to have done. Okay, but our some of those ministers who were going to ACC and to court and so they were known. They were known. But today, you are hiding the names of ministers who are being investigated. That is not transparency and that is not accountability. So the next time the president will be mentioning those two terms, transparency and accountability, I will be looking at him and say, but mwalifi sama ministers who are arrested. Why doesn't ACC hide the other people? Okay. Why? If you, Zaki, or me were suspected of anything and were arrested, our names will be everywhere on social media on a headed paper from Anti-Corruption Commission. So why should the minister, who is a servant, be shielded from being known that Ababa farm, he has mechanized the farm? 35 hectares has now got center pivots all around. Why shouldn't you say this is the minister who has 35 tracks hidden in his brother's name? Why can't you say this is the minister who is building a lodge on the banks of the Kafwaya River? Or who is suspected to be building a lodge? Why can't I say that? Why can't you say this is the minister who received tankers from, from some community? What is the problem with that? We need to know. Nina knew 35 hectares, which has now been mechanized. He failed. This minister failed to mechanize the farm for all these years, only to come and mechanize now that he has been a minister for 3 years. I don't know if it's a she or he. When you say he, you sound prejudicial. So for me, I am sorry, my brother. I expect the president to, to walk the talk.
But you know that this government, through the government spokesperson, has actually challenged the Anti-Corruption Commission. You are basically sharing the same sentiments. What you are saying is what the government spokesperson has said, has challenged the Anti-Corruption Commission, that let them name and shame the ministers and permanent secretaries and all senior government officials who are being investigated for corruption. And that's what
I join him. I join him in that call.
You think it's cosmetic?
Well, it's actually unfortunate that a government spokesperson, who said that?
The government spokesperson, Honourable Cornelius Mutotwe. Yes.
Okay, so Honourable Mutotwe speaks on behalf of cabinet. Okay, on behalf of cabinet. So if that is a position of cabinet, why is ACC not moving? Okay. Why is ACC not moving? List them. Show us the names. Okay. Show us the. You see, the UPND has already lost credibility. There is no credibility to actually hide. The only way the UPND's credibility can only be rebuilt. As things stand, there's no credibility because there's nothing which UPND promised which has come true. Ubunga tawaisa pa 50 kwacha. Fertilizer tayaisa pa 250 kwacha. Fuel tayaisa pa 12 kwacha. Corruption has not reduced, it has increased. Administration has become more maladministration than it has ever been in the history of this country. Tribalism has become the worst tribalism this country has ever seen. Regionalism has become the worst regionalism this country has ever seen. So all the promises that UPND made are in reverse. Total reverse. Because of that, UPND has remained with no credibility whatsoever. Absolutely no credibility. The only way that UPND can achieve credibility is by rebuilding it. And you rebuild it by reversing these trends. Okay, when a minister is corrupt, you deal with them and find another person to sit in that ministry. And the president should not be scared because all the MPs who are in the National Assembly today qualify to be ministers. So if in UPND doesn't have, there are a lot of good young boys and young MPs in PF who can become ministers in UPND. We have a good MP, PNU MP. You have good independent MPs who are really, really looking to become ministers. So the president has got a big pool to pick from. A big, very big pool. He should not be afraid to say that you don't say it. He must look left and right. Left and right. Okay? If you find good material, karandeni na Edgar Lungu, ngamwasanga mu PFM material, go and talk to Edgar Lungu. Oh, I want this player to help me. And the ECL will be able to say, to tell his MP, kabombeni kafweni chalo.
Do you think it is attractive anymore to work for an administration where, and again, I'll make reference to Musa Mwenya's interview yesterday. He was asked if the president was to rethink and call him back and head that institution or any other, he bluntly said he is not available at all. Is that an indication
that is how bad his encounter
but what message does it send to even the reference, the referred to MPs that you are referring to say the president can pull from parliament, but these are MPs who are here in senior state council, such as Musa Mwenya, who says
the promise of reconstruction of the image of the UPND, the credibility of the UPND, can attract some. the promise of reconstruction. But if, for example, if you came to me, okay, and said, I want you to be agriculture minister and behave exactly like Mutotwe, I'll just say, I'm sorry. But if you said, I want you to be agriculture minister and ensure that you procure inputs on time and distribute these inputs equitably, okay, with respect to expected weather patterns, I will probably consider. Because that is now the course of reconstruction of the image of government. And remember that government is still going to be there up to 2026. Is it 2026?
Yeah.
So if they are going to be there up to 2026, they need help. Especially those young ones, those young ones who are still passionate about, who have the energy, who have the drive, who want to become ministers and feel what it is to tender service at that level. Try them. They might just be, young people have all these good ideas. The only thing is you harness them and you tell them you act within the law. You act within the provisions of the law. Otherwise, you'll be bent. Okay. If you tell me, no, become energy minister in order to promote load shedding, 24 hours of load shedding, I can't consider it. And I'm sure all those other passionate, young MPs cannot. Because they want, when they go into that role, they are able to support the Zambian people and build their reputations, build their, their careers.
The former head of state, President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, has alleged, he has stated that he has heard political schemes aimed at altering our country's constitution by this administration. And the allegations are that the specific ones that is what he learned, that part of this planned arbitrary constitutional amendment may move this country from a 50% plus one back to the old first past the post in terms of electoral winning parameters. That is for the future president of Zambia. When you hear this, my question now is that this is a former head of state.
Yes.
When it says he has heard this and he has spoken, it's not an allegation. There could be facts to this, because this is a respected former head of state who cannot just speak from without, no? But if this has been spoken by a former head of state, you would want to question there. It's probably factual, but if it is, how does that sit with you?
Well, it is very unfortunate that you can, as a nation, begin to even talk about constitutional amendments at a time when the cost of living is so bad, at a time when there's so much maladministration, at a time when there's so much corruption, at a time when things are literally bad and people are saying if costs are everywhere. Whether you are UPND, whether you are PF, whether you are non-aligned, everybody's having to go through a very difficult economic patch, okay? Social patch. So, to be talking about constitutional amendments, you are talking about spending money to a process that is not recognized, a process that is not totally unwanted, because if the people just a while ago said we want to always have a majoritarian president, even going by my sister's pronunciation, what you want is to maintain what the people said. This is how we want this process to be undertaken. So if you now go and say what the people said was nonsense, we are taking it back to the first past the post, where you could even have a president getting 30% but apita. a minority president ruling over the country, and it has happened before in this country, where a president gets just about 30%, a presidential candidate gets just about 30%, but they become president. The Zambians don't want that. But you see, on social media yesterday, I saw somebody was saying, let's extend the presidential term to 7 years. You understand?
Yeah.
So this
is that not good?
Good for who? Good for who? When the people want to remove you, then you are saying I'll stay longer. It's impossible. But also, why would you extend the presidential term? And that post I saw was so limited, right? Because the categories of elected officials start from the councillor, then you go to the council chairman and the mayor, then you come to the MP and to the president. All of them have got the same tenure of 5 years. Why should you just go and say, let's go and extend the tenure of the president? That is what is in the mind of UPND right now. You understand? And the reason they have that in their mind is because they have assessed their unpopularity. And they are thinking if they go to elections in 2026, they will lose the power to govern the people of Zambia. So one way of buying time in order perhaps to come and rebuild the image or to come and consolidate dictatorship is by extending the period. So you have a problem. And it is these schemes, looking at wrong things, which has caused UPND to lose popularity like this. Because every day they are looking at wrong things. You see, this time you are spending thinking about extending the tenure of the president to 7 years. Why don't you think about cancelling the contract to supply 48% of the requirement or the power requirements for Botswana, so that you can reduce the load shedding here? Cancel all these small other contracts or suspend them so that you eliminate
Load shedding.
you eliminate load shedding in Zambia. Why aren't you thinking about now ensuring that the Ministry of Agriculture procures farming inputs on time, so that, because you have heard about the La Nina, right?
Yes.
The La Nina is associated with rains here in Zambia. When you record La Nina in Pacific Ocean, that's why you record it. Because we've been told the La Nina has been recorded on the Pacific Ocean. And that particular observation is associated with more rains in this country. So you are likely going to have rains in this rainy season. If that becomes the case, have you prepared well enough and in adequate terms in terms of farming inputs for the people? That is what you should be thinking about, so as to reduce the cost of living in subsequent years. But actually, what are you thinking about? Extending the tenure of office. Is that the thing? Is that what you should be thinking about now? You're thinking about changing the constitution to reduce 50+1. Should that really preoccupy your time? That is a lack of prioritization. And this is the administration we are talking about. And instead of calling it administration, we'll call it maladministration, because that's what it is.
This is the Burning Issue Tuesday edition here on the Happy World of 5 FM radio. And our guest this morning is Honourable Mutotwe Kafwaya, Member of Parliament for Lunte Constituency. And later, very soon, we will definitely be giving you an opportunity to call in and interact with our guest. And don't forget that we are also live on Tuta FM in Mansa, covering Ruapula province, on 90.7 FM, and live on Spice FM in Kabwe as well on 91.1 and covering Central Province, also live on our Facebook page. That's 5FM Radio Zambia. Now, I've got a question from our partner radio station, Tuta FM. Says, "Good morning, Mr. Kafwaya. What do you think should have been the correct way of handling the drugs containers scam vis-a-vis Sylvia Masebo? And are you hopeful that this matter will receive the justice it deserves?
Okay, so it's interesting. I think as I was coming here, I was listening to one radio station where an honorable colleague of mine was explaining how the Ministry of Health was unaware that those containers were actually in a private location. Okay. And what my honorable colleague did not say is that those are imported drugs, and that when you import anything, to be able to receive it inland or in your country, it passes through border formalities. So at the border, you have an agent who will contact you, the owner of the things, that your containers are here. Zambia Revenue Authority is asking for so much. Okay. And once they are cleared at the border, they will start off and your agent will tell you, now your things are on the way. Why did the agent who cleared those containers on behalf of Ministry of Health fail to actually inform the Ministry of Health? So you can find a way of cleaning up this nonsense. This is just rubbish. What Ministry of Health did by hiding those containers is total nonsense. It should not happen in a normal society. Okay, it must never happen in a normal society where you have no drugs, and then you receive drugs, you go and hide them so that you can buy other drugs where you're getting kickbacks. What type of rubbish is that? Okay, so the normal thing to do is to institute a thorough investigation so that the actual culprits are identified.
Which we believe and understand this government has done that.
If they have done that, those culprits must be sanctioned, and they are sanctioned, and those sanctions should be commensurate to the level of damage they have done to the Zambian people.
Is moving Honourable Masebo from health an indication that there was something fishy going on?
I don't know, because Honourable Masebo is not the only one who has moved. Elijah Mchima has moved. Okay, and going to Minister of Health must not be seen as a privilege. You understand? Going to ministers should be able to serve in any ministry. Okay, so just speaking about Masebo moving is understating. Elijah Mchima has moved, Kapala has moved, Nzovu has moved. Okay, earlier we saw.
Well, the talk around moving of and the reason why I think Honourable Masebo is coming up, her name is coming up,
yes.
is that. And criticism from the opposition mainly is that you've just transferred a problem to another ministry, meaning she's the center.
That should be independent. From my perspective, that should be independent. Okay, if Honourable Masebo is involved in those containers, she needs to be fired, even if she's in a different ministry. Okay, so that is the investigation I was talking about. Institute an investigation which must establish the actual culprits, because not all people in the Ministry of Health are involved in that. Not all people at ZAMSA are involved in that. You need to understand that.
Could moving a minister be a strategic way to pave way for investigation? Investigations would be better carried away while that minister is not in that position.
The president doesn't need to give a reason to anyone,
right?
In terms of why he has moved this person or the other.
Yeah,
it is his prerogative. Okay, to move.
Yeah, and you can't rule out speculation,
and even to fire. Even speculation you can't rule out,
because
diversity can't be constrained.
Of course.
But my point is, it doesn't matter where Sylvia is. It doesn't matter where Sylvia is. If the investigations show that she was involved in those in the maladministration of that medicine, because to be honest with you, that medicine is completely damaged. Even the foolishness of saying, part of the medicine is okay is nonsense, because medicine cannot sit on the sun for over 7 months and then you come and say, hey, some of it is just okay. What are you talking about? Medicine is normally stored in regulated temperatures. Okay, so you can't after you have hate the Zambian people mwali tuchena pakufisa omuti abantu balefwa mwali fisa omuti. Then you should also start saying, no, we investigate the potency of this medicine. And you start saying, no, what type of arrogance is that? Just say, if you are go and dispose of. If your incinerators can't cover everything, find a way of disposing.
I have the privilege of having you here as a former cabinet minister who has been moved from one ministry to another. And the speculation that obviously is left with the public, since there is no truth to it or reasons as to why you are moved. I mean, speculation is left to think that it's either you're incompetent in that ministry or you have strength to manage a particular ministry, and that's why probably you're being moved. But in your case as former cabinet minister, I don't know whether you will be able to state, but were you given reasons why you were moved from, correct me if I'm wrong, first it was Works and Supply and then moved to Transport and Communication? Would the president have an opportunity to let you know why he's moving you, or probably it's because your strength is needed in that particular ministry?
Zaki, a cabinet minister serves at the pleasure of the president. Okay, and the president has an eagle's eye on what is happening in all ministries. So he decides, okay, we've only had his presidents. So the president decides where you are best suited to apply what you know at a particular time. At a particular time. So for me, I was privileged to be appointed as Minister of Works and Supply. And I served there. And the president decided to have my skills go, or my understanding go and apply themselves, to have me to go and apply myself in the Ministry of Transport and Communications. He didn't give me any reason, and he didn't have to, because I serve at his pleasure. Some of my colleagues were fired.
Much as ministerial positions may be equal, but there is some sort of hierarchy in it. And if you are moved from a higher one, well, based on the speculated hierarchy, if you are moved from a higher one to a lower one, you should be able to know that probably I'm not performing well.
The Constitution provides for 40 ministers.
Yes.
Okay, so you can't have all the 40 ministers in one line. It's not possible.
Yeah, of course.
But there are those. There are those who are up there, defense, finance, home affairs, in our time, foreign affairs and
justice.
And then there are mid-tier, and then there are those. Now, the president can decide to move this one even from the top line to the bottom line, or just reshuffle within the middle line. There is no problem, and you can't query the president. So in the case of Honourable Masebo, who is a subject because she was Minister of Health when they hid containers, if the president moved her because of those, it's a reason enough. But if you hide containers, I'll fire you. I can't move you. That's the point. Okay, if I am sure as a president that you are the one, or you are involved in hiding that medicine when there is no medicine in Mainasoko Hospital, Mainasoko Military Hospital, where you are even keeping abducted patients, I'll fire you. That's what I'll do. Okay, so now that's me. That's me. I don't know about the president. Remember, the president did not fire his presidential aide who falsified the CV. Abe pamu CV na lelo kwa chitala bomba kudia. The president fired nobody among those who contracted illegal audits. The president fired no one in Ministry of Agriculture when they procured farming inputs from 2 different companies for 2 different amounts on the same day, with a difference of over $500 per ton, and you are buying 50,000 tons. Okay, 50,000 tons. multiplied by $500. How much is that? $25 million plus. This money was stolen. The president knows that. He didn't fire. Okay? The president didn't fire anyone at Ministry of Tourism when they illegally cancelled the hunting concessions, leading to a court judgment against the ministry. The president did not fire. So, so even if Honourable Masewa, and I'm not saying she was involved, I'm saying even if she was involved and she's not fired, I will not be surprised. I won't be surprised. But with all those surprises and lack of it, I will still insist that ministers serve at the pleasure of the president.
I'll take phone calls on 0955 2215. This is the Tuesday edition of the Burning Issue here on the Happy Word of 5 FM radio. My guest is Honourable Mutotwe Kafwaya, Member of Parliament for Lunte Constituency. We've got a caller here. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Your name, sir, and where are you calling us from?
All right, this is Mr. Mianda calling you from Lusaka here in Kabanana, Maichola.
Mr. Mianda, please go ahead.
Mr. Kafwaya, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Mr. Mianda.
Yes, please. I think for me, I'm very disappointed with you, Mr. Kafwaya. To start with, you mentioned of the issue of the issue involving Faith Msonda, that the money was shared. Are you being honest to this country? Are you being honest to this country? Even when you saw how that money went, how that money was transacted. Papers are there, all the documents are there, but you are there spreading falsehoods on the radio. And I expected even the moderator to have stopped you there, because that money was not shared, Mr. Kafwaya, right? And sometimes when we come on radio, no matter how you hate this government, no matter how you don't like this government, let us try to use the radio-friendly language, not foolish, rubbish, whatever it is. We should be able to respect one another. I know that you are a bitter person because you thought that you were going to win elections 2021. But alas, that's how God is. Mr. Hadende Hichilema is president of this nation, and you can see even the massive developments that this government has brought. You failed to open up the mines. You failed to open up the copper belt. This time around, everything is in place. KCM is working. Mopani is working, and everything is in place, Mr. Kafwaya. Copper belt is alive this time around. This time around. So, my brother, when you come on the radio, you should be truthful. This is what is happening. At least you give kudos to the ruling government. You talked about corruption as I conclude, Bazaki. Bazaki, you are getting me?
Yes.
Yes. So let me end of the corruption that is saying there. You failed to end corruption yourselves in PF, where there was a grand and total corruption. Things were being swept under the carpet. Then you are telling your friend in 2 years, you say, no, the president is saying, no, we are not end corruption. Which country has ended corruption in 2 years? It's a fight that involves you. It's a fight that involves me. It's a fight that should involve the whole nation of Akafwaya. We should work together on this one.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Yes, please. So you failed to end corruption, and then you are telling your friend whatever it is. You should give credit where it is due.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. 095522. Did you want to respond now? It was, but let me give you 2 more calls. Good morning. Hello.
Vazaki, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Your name, sir, and where are you calling us from?
How are you, my MP, Dr. Kafwaya?
I'm fine. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm not okay, Kafwaya. Poverty level.
What is your name and where are you calling us from?
My name is Mr. Chikubabe.
Please
you know,
go ahead.
Kafwaya, you are speaking very, very well. You are the man, you are the best man. When I hear you in Parliament, I see that this man is speaking. Without you, the Parliament, it cannot, I don't even hear a very good message. You are the great people, all those people who were aligned to be out of Parliament. You are a great people. You know, Mr. Kafwaya, when we talk about corruption, I'm sure for now, this country, it is at risk. Zambia, it is at risk. When you hear about the 13.5 billion, and you hear that question which was coming from the Nakonde member of parliament, and he heard the answers which were coming from our Madam Vice President, that 13.5 billion is just because of inflation. Is it the answer which you've been hearing from our Madam Vice President? 13.5 billion our taxpayers' money. Then we hear that it's just because of inflation, Kafwaya. Where are we going as a country? Where are we going as a country when a country is losing such a big amount of money? 13.5 billion, corruption just in 2 years. 2 years, you can use such huge sums of money. You expect development.
Thank you, Mr. Chikubabe. I need to take another call. Thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you very much for coming. Let me give you one more call and then you respond on 0955-221515. That's the number you're calling us on. Good morning.
Morning, Zach. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Your name, sir, and where are you calling us from?
Yeah, this is Clarence, just within Lusaka. Honourable Kafwaya. Morning, how are you?
Good morning, thank you. I'm okay. I hope you are. Thank you.
I'm fine, Honourable.
Nice.
Zach.
Yes, please.
Yes, I don't know what's happening with our reasoning as we phone when somebody comes on the radio and is giving his views. We need to be respecting somebody's views. We shouldn't always be looking back and comparing things. You know, we voted because we had hope. And now that people have lost hope and we don't, it's more like we are not seeing where we are going. We are totally lost hope. And this is the fact that our friends are failing to understand. It's not about anyone. It's about Zambians, the poor Zambians. Let people complain. Let people speak. It's the people who are feeling the heat. Things are not okay. People shouldn't just be coming, start condemning PF this, PF this. Is that how you solve out problems? Let's learn to respect people's views. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Clarence, for that. You can now respond, Honourable.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Mianda. Thank you, Mr. Chikubabe. And thank you, Clarence. I'd wanted to respond to Mr. Mianda alone because I thought his question was very loaded.
Right.
Okay, but nevertheless, I took down notes, so I hope I'll be able to be thorough.
Right.
The first thing I would like to tell the public through Mr. Mianda is that I don't hate UPND and I don't hate President Hakainde Hichilema, but I don't share with them their leadership views. I don't share with them their promises. I don't actually see them as competent to be able to honor their promises. Because ever since they assumed office, which is 3 years ago, all the promises have gone in reverse. So to think that I am bitter is unfortunate on the part of Mr. Mianda. I am not bitter because HH1 presidential elections. I think I'm bitter because the people are suffering. Mr. Mianda may not be suffering. You may be eating 3 square meals a day. And if you are calling from Lusaka, walk around in Ichpata compound, walk around, in in Mtendere, just walk around in Chawama, go to these places, and see how people are suffering. People are suffering, and I agree with Clarence. It's people who are feeling the heat. So for me, as a representative of the people, I need to continuously speak about the things which I think are causing the heat that the people are feeling. What is causing that? It's corruption in the UPND government, it's maladministration, it's focus on wrong things such as the constitution, as opposed to how you can reduce the cost of essential commodities. And then he says, I come here to lie. Because Faith Msonda's man, I saw how it went into the system.
Did you?
Let me remind him. Let me remind you, Mr. Mianda, that what we were told is that this money has been given to students, okay? And we are not fools. We know how money go to students. We know how a national budget works, okay? So when you collect money from whatever source in this country which has a single treasury account, that money must be deposited into the single treasury account and go through the funding process. Now, once you deposit money in the single treasury account, that money loses identity. So how can you come and cheat people that this money has actually gone to students, the money which lost its identity? Okay, but that money never even went into that account, because that issue was in Parliament, where I am privileged to sit. Maybe, Mr. Mianda, I wished you sat in Parliament at the time. The minister was waving documents telling us, you see, here is the money, this is how it's moving, the deposit slip is here. I personally followed that in the Hansard, picked the documents and found there was no deposit slip. You understand? The money was not deposited. So for you, sir, to think that I am here bitter and cheating, it's very unfortunate. And the word nonsense, by the way, something that lacks sense, in my view, is nonsense. Okay, unless if Mr. Mianda doesn't like this word, because UPND is in power, I will try to look for another word which means the same, and I will replace it for the same.
How far did you follow up on the deposit slip, which you did not find with the minister?
The Speaker of the National Assembly, Madam Nelly Muti, ordered the minister to come back with another ministerial statement, okay, against standing orders requirements, where when you discuss business today, it can't come back unless after 6 months. She ordered, within 3 days, we had another ministerial statement. And the government still failed to explain that. So, Mr. Mianda, I am not one of those people who maliciously speak about things. I will never be like that. If that is common on the other side of things, it is impossible. And Mr. Mianda, you praise KCM. KCM is borrowing money from NAPSA. Okay. They're borrowing money from NAPSA to pay contractors. That is what we are hearing. How can you be happy with that? And you are saying, no, sorry, that is that, yeah, that is KCM. You are even saying Mupani is working, Mupani is okay. Sir, if you live in Lusaka, don't provoke the people of Copper Belt. Abantu wa Copper Belt bare chula. Leave them alone. Okay? Imokuno Lusaka, you are near State House. And if you are supporters of UPND, you probably go to community house and be helped. Abanenu bare chula who cannot access the community house. But they are suffering, so don't bring them into this debate. You've never been to Mopani, you've never been to KCM, you don't know what is happening there, and then you come and say, no, things are moving. Where are the things moving? Okay, I must give kudos to UPND, according to Mr. Mianda, for massive development. Where have you seen massive development, Zach? Ukufisa makontena ya mutis massive development. Ukuiba $13.5 billion, 13.5 billion kwacha is massive development. Ukuiba $2.8 billion massive development. To tell ZRA that don't follow this particular mining company with the mining obligation, the mining tax obligations, instead of them paying $1 billion, that is development. I am talking about illegal audits. You want me to call that massive development? So sorry. So if you have a list of massive development, Mr. Mianda, it would be good for you to come to a radio like this and you come and list them. Because in Enganambo kuchita list the things which I know, which are terrible, you'll be shocked. Mr. Mianda will be shocked. So I'm sorry, sir, I am not able to come here and start giving kudos to UPND. UPND has failed on national unity. UPND has strengthened tribalism. UPND has strengthened regionalism. UPND has done just the terrible things which I am unable to, to appreciate. To fight corruption. It was that time when FIC was reporting 2 billion kwacha. Now FIC is reporting 60 billion plus. Because 13 billion, I don't even know why this 13 billion has caused a lot of noise. Because FIC has reported 68 billion before. FIC has reported $2.8 billion before, which is close to 60 billion kwacha. FIC during UPND, they have reported these numbers, but these are 3.5. But what is the vice president telling us? From 2 billion in PF to 13.5 billion in UPND, this is inflation. Then Msokotwane is telling you that inflation has dropped. So what are you talking about? Inflation has come down to what it was in 20 something percent. It's come down to 13%. So what exactly are you talking about? We talked about administration. So I am very, very sorry. Mr. Chukwabe, I have nothing to say about your contribution. I think we share the views. We think the same in terms of what is happening. I am happy you enjoy my discourse in Parliament. I'm in Parliament for you, Mr. Chukwabe. I'm not there for myself. And if you are happy with my contribution to the nation, my contribution to the people of Lunte, I must be pleased. Clarence is speaking about respect for each other, right? And I hope it's respect enough for me to say that I'll find another word in place of nonsense. Because Mr. Mianda doesn't like it, I hope that this diversity should be allowed. People should say what they think, isn't it? The people should say what they think. The same way I am here thinking it is lack of prioritization for the UPND to be thinking about amending the constitution at a time when people are feeling the heat. This is what Clarence has said. People are feeling the heat. So consider what is making people feel the heat. What is it? Ubunga. Na bukosesha mtengo. Ama light yale ya sana. 24 hours a day is too much. Okay? Nifinshi tumutita muli mufipatala. Mwali afisa omuti mwashito muti mwayafisa. Mwayafisa paka suba. Efilere ngokwe bati abantu bekwate emiti mu kipatala. Okay, the people you have in offices are incompetent. That's why they can actually contract illegal audits. Without due regard to the law, without due regard to the provisions of the laws which were created to govern them. Okay, so it's very, very unfortunate, and we need to be truthful about these matters.
Let me take some more phone calls on 0955-221515. This is the Tuesday edition of the Burning Issue. My guest is Honourable Mutotwe Kafwaya, who is Member of Parliament for Lunte Constituency. Let's take this one. Good morning.
Wow.
Hello, good morning.
Francis Mumbimpisha is calling you from Lusaka town. Good morning to you, Zach, and good morning to you, Honourable.
Morning, Francis.
How are you this morning?
We are okay. Please go ahead.
Fine. Thank you. But Zach, I'll tell you something for free, no consultancy involved. I won't charge anything. If there's a minister that I greatly admired in the PS government, even up to now, the way they're debating themselves in the parliament, this is Mr. Honourable Kafwaya. I'll tell you one thing. This is a minister whom you can meet in the street, you meet in a shop, you stop a minister. He will turn back, he won't give you that face, that body language to show, who are you? I'm a minister. He will speak to you nicely, like you're talking to just any other ordinary person. This is a man, a very humble man. I know what I'm talking about. He is somebody meeting for the first time. It's like you've met him years ago. That's the kind of person he is. And when he's coming out genuinely speaking for this nation, that's the genuine true soul. Because me, I saw it when he was still a minister. There was no form, splendor, braggadocio, pomposity from him, nothing. He just speaks for the people. That's Honourable Mutotwe Kafwaya. So to me, continue with the good work you're doing. We're very happy as Zambians. Yes, still have got divergency, but the truth always is, because here you speak the truth of what is happening on the ground, speak for the pure, poor Zambians. Can you imagine the stinking corruption that is happening in this government? Others may not see it, but was not seeing it. I'll give an example of the gold scandal. Can you imagine how embarrassing it is? There's only one Zambian being held right now in that jail. The rest of the criminals that came through that gold scandal, where even somebody gave authority for a jet to park at the presidential pavilion, and then the people have gone scot-free. Do that in China. You see how you'll be executed before you even vote. Are you getting the point? So this is the country where we are suffering right now when we've got everything. Talk of the minerals, food, delight, emerald, everything. And we are still going to the IMF to beg for money. So for what? When we've got all these things, so these are the things that come to the Kafwaya is trying to fight for Zambians in parliament. And at the end of the day, I mean, I wish I could join them to the Kafwaya in parliament so that we fight this issue together. At the end of the day, for me, Zambia should come first before anything. There's a lot of, look at what is happening there, how the president also is not seriously running this country in terms of fighting corruption. How do you transfer a minister where there's a very serious allegation, everything is in black and white, and the intelligence is there to see exactly what is happening. You transfer such a person, when you're telling the whole world, the UN, you go to Saturday, you go everywhere, you're saying, I'm fighting corruption, I'm a king of whatever. You're allowing such things to happen within the country. And then Zambians are suffering and wallowing in poverty. Minimum prices. At the end of the day, this government, how consistent they are in being inconsistent. They say $1 million that was meant to cover us for 2 to 3 seasons. They said it all. The money is not even being accounted for. So I'm talking about being in parliament. I'm asking you, can you go and demand for a forensic audit? We should know which accounts that money was paid in, whether it was paid using Ukwa bags, the maize that was sold. We want to know how many millions were sold and where is that money. We want the people to speak to you as an MP. You do the work for us. Show us where is that money lying. Where has it been channeled to? Because you've given a very good example of that money from Fed, for example. Somebody says, no, we deposited money. I'm a former banker. I'm a trained banker. Are you getting the point? I know how the banking system works. So as long as you miss it and whatever, there's a trail. Whether it takes 50 years, for as long as it comes to the banking system, that money will be tracked down. But like what you said, they simply said, no, the money has gone to the Ministry of Education. What has happened? Somebody stole that money within the system. That money was stolen. Are you getting the point? So these are issues that will come out open to Zambian people. We should know what is happening. Zambia should come first because I don't want my daughter to come and suffer in a country that is so rich, richer than most of these countries we have surrounding us. A country like Botswana, they only rely on diamonds. But they are managing their system very well. They are able to manage the economy just through diamonds and cattle. Now here you've got Fuji-Right, you've got emerald, you've got gold, you've got copper, you've got amethyst, you've got everything. And yet you are wallowing and suffering in poverty. What a shame. I feel so ashamed as I conclude. As I conclude as a Zambian, Francis Mwanwa, I feel so ashamed to realize that I'm in a country that is so rich, yet so poor, because of a lack of leadership and the lack of people who are caring for themselves first, their pockets first. This is the country that I shudder to live in, and I'll continue speaking to make sure that this country should be where it belongs. No child should suffer with the kind of riches that we have as a country.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Francis. Thank you, Francis. Thank you very much for calling. Let me pick up another one. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Zaki. And my name is Noah Nkoma. I would like to make a contribution, please.
Yes, Mr. Noah Nkoma, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. And good morning, Honourable.
Good morning. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. And I have followed your submissions in this morning's program.
Yes.
And I think you espouse a spirit of being candid and us being sincere and truthful to whatever we communicate to the public. Now, one of the things that I want to just share with you, my brother, is that you push an agenda or a narrative that under UPND, corruption has increased, right? Now, the fact of the matter, right, is that the UPND government has promoted what you may call 100% transparency and openness. There is nothing or no corruption which basically is being hidden from the public. Now, you know very well, as a chartered accountant yourself, that the role of the FIC is not investigative, but it's more of what you may call a whistleblower. Now, a whistleblower basically ends their mandate up to the fact that they alert the law enforcement agencies to the extent that they suspect that there's a transaction which could be tainted. Now, you know also, Honourable, that until that is investigated and prosecuted, you cannot be able to confirm whether indeed the figures that you are talking about, 18 billion or 60 billion, is indeed corruption. I'm not saying that corruption in PF or corruption under UPND was right or wrong. Corruption is corruption. It ends there. So to suggest that because of the fact that we have been so open and transparent, it is evident that there's so much corruption, I think is wrong. In PF, you will agree that there were many things which are being uncovered now which we never knew, right? Now, if you put those into context, it will not be the same conversation that we'll be having. Then the last thing is that this economy was basically, it had collapsed under PF, totally. And you know it very well. You are a chartered accountant. You know it very well that there was no economy to talk about. Now, if an economy is being rehabilitated, along the way, there will be casualties. You will recall very well, even when Chilwa was campaigning to be president, he asked the Zambian people, are you prepared to take the pain, right? The only probably where we have fallen short as UPND is maybe we did not understand the extent of the damage to the extent that we should have communicated to the Zambian people that it will not be all rosy as we try to rehabilitate the economy. This is a pain that we are going through, which pain the Zambians went through between 1991 and 1995. So what I'm saying to you, my brother, is that he stand up as one of those who want to rebuild the economy. Because every day, basically castigating and more or less bringing out the shortcomings of a system do not help to rebuild the country. I submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nkoma, for that conversation. Let me at this point probably allow you to respond.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Francis Mombi, I would like to appreciate you. No Nkoma, I would like to appreciate you for your contributions. Now, I have to be pleased with Francis's admiration of my conduct when I was minister, and this time that I'm still privileged to be a member of parliament. I think he spoke very kindly of me. I really appreciate. Other than that, I would like to join him in saying I do not also want to be part of a system that would bequeath a nation that is completely damaged for my children and theirs. I'd like to, to facilitate the bequeathing of a nation that is going to provide for my children and theirs conditions of living that are acceptable, conditions of living that are going to bring about dignity to them, so that even on my grave, my children don't come to curse, but they come to memorialize me in the positive sense. And I hope that would be the same for many leaders. So clearly we have a lot of wealth as a people, and Francis Mombi Piri spoke about God, and he talks about a scandal of God which happened at KKIA, and he's worried that only one person, Kasanda, is still incarcerated on those allegations. He thinks that's unfortunate. I actually also think so, particularly in a situation where all the other players have been let go. They have gone. The plane is gone. The story has died down, and to just hold one person in incarceration for that offense is quite unfortunate. So clearly, yes, I thoroughly agree with Francis when it comes to what we possess as a nation, which should be able to to see us out of the current economic malaise in which we find ourselves in. No Nkoma speaks very clearly, and I have to appreciate him as well for thinking that I espouse a spirit of candidness. I think this is different from what Mr. Mianda earlier said. Mr. Mianda, for me, sounded like a sympathizer of the UPND. Mr. No Nkoma has been categorical. He's a sympathizer or a member of the UPND, but he still thinks a little different of me compared to Mr. Mianda. But he urges me, to be able to transact business which will help to build the country, as opposed to transacting business which will cause division or even destroy the country further. Okay. Now, Mr. Nkoma and I are sitting on different or opposite platforms when it comes to political beliefs, what we can do as leaders. And I do think this is where we need to spend time, and I wish we could even have a personal conversation. He thinks that in PF there was no transparency. And he has said now they are seeing a lot of things which were not reported during the PF. And if they bring out all these matters, it's going to be a different story altogether. I beg to differ with you, Mr. Nkoma, on this, because you can't keep on talking about lists. You have to establish what those things are. The same way we are talking about 13.5 billion, it's a well-documented fact. The same way we are talking about the 68 billion kwacha, it is a very well-documented fact. The $2.8 billion is a very well-documented fact. The hidden medicine, very well-documented fact. The firing of a whistleblower, somebody is telling you there is a problem here. Somebody is telling you there's corruption in government chambers. People are cutting deals when it comes to entering into consent judgments. Then that is a person you go and fire. These are very well documented facts. Somebody being employed at the State House as an advisor to the president who falsified the CV, it's a very well documented fact. So all of the things that I have been able to establish on this radio program are very well documented facts, and most of them have been discussed even on the floor of the House in the National Assembly of Zambia. So I think that these are matters that need to be corrected. If it was Mr. No Nkoma, who is a professional like myself, and you employ somebody, and that somebody cheated you in the CV, would you keep them? I wouldn't. I'll fire them. And I hope Mr. No Nkoma would do the same. Okay, you fire them because those are not credible. They will never be credible because in the first place, they were able to get the job on the basis of cheating. Isn't it? If a whistleblower came to you and said, I have, ever since you put me in this position, I've observed the following people are involved in corruption. Would you fire the whistleblower or fire the people who are suspected of corruption, or indeed get rid of those people at least temporarily to facilitate investigations? And FIC report in PF has the same principles compared to FIC report in UPND. So if the number has grown, that is a source of concern. How does the number grow when you have a collapsed economy? How do these suspicious transactions grow from 2 billion kwacha to 13 billion kwacha when you have a collapsed economy? Isn't this a cause for us to think that inequality is expanding? Isn't this cause for us to think corruption is expanding? So I have, it's diversity. And I think Noah is entitled to think in the manner he is and to, push in these views in this manner. I accept and welcome the views, but I also have a different way in which I look at these matters. And this is why perhaps, having a personal conversation, because these are professionals, you understand, having a personal conversation with them can help. But I actually think I am also helping the administration.
I've got a question. I've got a comment from Chilufya, who is in the United Kingdom, in Leicester to be precise. Says, Honourable Member of Parliament, you've convinced me that you actually are smart. I was not. Stop banging your head explaining to people like Meander. The guy has no clue. I'm struggling to feed my animals, and that's me who is even trying. How about that person who is in Kawambwa? As for Mr. Nkoma, I feel sorry for you. What people like you are forgetting is it was on the premise that things were going to improve that people voted you in. All right, so that's Chilufya from Leicester. Let me quickly squeeze in another call. Good morning. Welcome to the burning issue.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And how are you?
I'm okay.
Yes, sir.
You are talking to Morgan B.H. Chironda of Lusaka.
Morgan, yes, please.
Mr. Kafwaya, Honourable, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Mr. Mul.
The point what I'm talking about is here. Not about the corruption going on. The point is that who is stealing? If money, if there is somebody who is stealing, what's the point? The point is to arrest those who are stealing.
Yeah.
So for me, I think if you, as an opposition is a whistleblower, check and balances. You know somebody is stealing. Why can't you go and report it to the anti-corruption? And some people are saying, so I can't understand. For me, what I'm saying, isn't the president says that there shall be no secret cows in my government. Whoever steals shall be suspended and prosecuted, found guilty, go to jail. I think this is on the issue why we are saying, if there is somebody who is stealing, we are asking the government to suspend that person